Hello YouTube, I'm back with the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Review, and today I've got two structure decks to review, mostly because they are very similar in nature. These are both Joey Wheeler structure decks. There's Joey Volume 1, which I have here, and Volume 2. I would have done it for the other structure decks as well, but I don't have the other versions. So there's just Yugi 1, Volume 1, and Kaiba Volume 1. There's no Merrick Volume 2, there's just Merrick Volume 1, really. So we'll start with this. Let's start with Joey Structure Deck Joey Volume 1, and just so you could tell, you can tell this is Volume 1 because the formatting of cards are different. See if I can give you a better look here. See, it's probably gonna be better if I show it to you this way. You can see the attack and defense. It's got one box, and then the actual effect has another box. I think the artwork is bigger here. Other than that, everything else is pretty well the same as what we have in later editions. You saw 1000 Dragon on this one. This is the only one with an actual extra deck among the structure decks, with the exception of Kaiba and Yugi 2. I don't think... Oh no, I think the other two structure decks have them, but the ones I have, this is the only one I have other than Kaiba Volume 2 that actually has an extra deck. But they're commons, so it's a nice way to get them going. I mean, this was... We didn't have Alligator Sword Dragon until much later. In fact, it was the World Championship 2011 pack, I think it was, that we got it. And that's where we had, that was the debut of a lot of cards that were in Japan for a long time, including Alligator Sword and whatnot, and had a lot of reprints of the English structure deck boss monsters like Ocean Dragon Lord, which needed a reprint to fix the error, the problem. It was lacking the summoning requirements. That aside for the moment. Looking at the rest of the structure deck, a lot of his classic cards are in here. I think these are somewhat based off of Battle City. I'm not entirely sure. These are definitely Battle City cards. He's used both of these in Battle City, in fact, in two different duels, respectively. I mean, he's got his cards like, you know, Shield and Sword is in this. It's in both structure decks. And this is why a lot of the cards are very similar. Although it also includes cards that are similar. You know, cards he probably could have used. It includes, like, you know, Goddess of the Third Eyes is helping for fusion summoning his, the two fusions in this. There's two copies of Giant True Dating here, believe it or not. This is a more washed out version. This is actually how I got it. This is pretty much exactly, and his classic cards in here, like Jinzo. Jinzo's in both of them as well. But what boggles me completely is this. A super rare Swordsman of Landstar. I don't understand it. It's not that powerful at all. I don't understand why they would make this card a foil. I mean, there's a better card. They could have made Alligator Sword and or Alligator Sword Dragon and 1000 Dragon one of the foils, or Panda Warrior even. I mean, come on here. What are we? This also includes a lot of his cards from Duelist Kingdom as well. I mean, here's Copycat. This is the way we got Copycat. It's a lot better than how it was in the end. It was actually somewhat watered down. It was a little bit confusing in the anime because it was able to be played as both a spell card and as a monster card. The dub gave it a level. It was basically a normal monster level 5. I think in Japan may have done that as well. But a lot of his cards are in here. You get duplicates of other cards, and his classic Red Eyes Black Dragon is in here too. Both Gold Dice and Graceful Dice are in this as well. So I'd say this is more around Battle City. You got duplicates of other cards. You got some of those cards he wouldn't use until much later, like Magic Arm Shield. Oh no, let's see. He did use Magic Arm Shield in Battle City against Weevil Underwood. And here's Graceful Dice while we're at it. I just managed to sift past it and go there. And let's see. The other foil card in here is Luminous Soldier, which is here. Actually, there's two ultra rare cards in here. And we didn't get that until later. And Command Knight, which we also didn't get until later. We didn't get Luminous Soldier until, I believe, the Tournament Pack 5. Command Knight was a Collector's Tin. 2004 Collector's Tin, and got it as a secret rare. But, I mean, this isn't a bad deck. I mean, if you're a fan of the show, I'd probably recommend getting both of these. This includes cards he never used, but he probably would have, as far as we know. I mean, as far as we know, he never used them. Dark Hole, which is always a good card. I mean, that and Pot of Greed, which are both in here. In fact, they're actually next to each other in this deck right now. Both cards are definitely... He definitely used Pot of Greed. Who didn't use Pot of Greed in the show, though? Dark Hole almost never made an appearance, which is weird. You'd figure they would all use a copy of that card. It is broken. It's been broken since day one, and it doesn't matter if there are cards that come out that prevent its destruction. It's still broken. It should always be forbidden. And yet, I think we actually have it at 1 for us here. I think even in Japan. It's like, do we not understand why it was banned in the first place? I mean, yeah, in the first place, we didn't have a lot of cards, but come on. We actually, it was overpowered. Especially since you can use it when your opponent controls only the monsters on the field. But, let's go on to Volume 2. Volume 2 has the newer, the formatting of cards that would be used basically for a long time until, I think it was, I don't even remember, was it Dawn of the Xyz that used the updates? Which is the starter deck that introduced Xyz monsters, and here's the ultra rare, one of the ultra rares, and this is also one of his Battle City cards. This is Guilford the Lightning. See, a lot of his cards are similar in here, and Foolish Burial is the other card. This may be more Battle City oriented than that, because it includes Foolish Burial, Question is in this as well, Magic Arm Shield, Graceful Dice, Skull Dice, and some of these cards were used, I don't think he actually ever used until the 4th season. See, he never really used Time Wizard. He did use it once. Let's see. Yeah, he used it once, although it was never successful. He used it against Esperoba in hopes of taking down Jinzo, weakening it, but they had some animated rule that said basically the armor prevented it from corroding for 10,000 years. Yeah, right. Of course, for us, it wouldn't matter. It's still effective. And here they have a different Art of Red Eyes. This is the Shonen Jump version, I believe. This is the print that was also in Dark Beginning. It's a common. A lot of his cards in here are... Most of his cards in here, the other cards in here are mostly like things he's actually used. That would support the deck, not necessarily cards he would actually use. Although some of the cards I think are totally pointless. Banner of Courage, which is also in this. Why? No one would ever use this. Gives your monsters 200 attack during the battle phase only. That's it. There's no other effect written on it, and it doesn't give you it. And it's a mere 200 attack points is not going to do you a whole lot of good, especially if your monster's already weak enough as it is. But his classic cards in here. Your Scapegoat. I don't know if I mentioned that. I think Scapegoat is in both structure decks as well. And yes, be warned though, when you buy Japanese cards, you may end up getting some art that may be a little bit more... Because the artwork's uncensored in Japan, generally speaking. So you'll end up maybe seeing a lot more than you probably would like to see. Plus, these cards are also more expensive, depending on, because they don't typically get reprinted. So you see them once, that's it. So unless they're really easily obtainable, you're going to have a hard time getting them, especially these structure decks. These are going to cost you a pretty penny to get either of them. And in fact, I've seen... the Kaiba 2 structure deck I just saw mint condition on eBay for about $50. I don't think that included shipping though. That was still sealed in this box. I don't know what it would cost to get it. Normally it would probably be maybe a little cheaper, but I would not anticipate paying like $10 for it unless it's in really bad condition. This also includes Premature Burial, which I believe he did use, but I think it was mostly later in the series in season 4, 5. Season 5 was probably where it's most notable, because he used it twice. Even Giant Trunade returned it to his hand and then activated it again. Almost cost him the duel, though. It was a very risky plan here. But this is good. I mean, this even includes cards you may not otherwise have. I mean, this includes Dice Jar, which is a risky card, but in some ways, you can actually win the duel this way. Because if you roll a 6 and your opponent gets anything but a 6, you're dealing 6,000 points of damage to your opponent right there. That's probably going to be more than enough to win the duel at the time it's activated. Now, granted, you're probably not going to get that. I mean, it's literally a 1 in 6 chance of actually getting that. Your opponent will have to get anything but a 6, which is probably a little more likely. But I mean, there are cards in here I think that actually help with that as well. I think there's Dice Reroll is in here to help out with that. I wouldn't recommend either card though. Let's see, is it in here? There are, speaking of dice, there are several dice cards in here. Yeah, here's Dice Reroll here. Or Die Reroll, whatever they call it here. A lot of his classic cards in here. So, I mean, this is mostly a luck-based deck. In fact, speaking of luck-based, there's Second Coin Toss, which will help you with Time Wizard, but then I wouldn't recommend you running that card. Either the card is extremely risky. I mean, it's probably a bit less risky than in the show, where it actually, I don't know, it's about the same. It looks riskier in the show because there are more spaces on there, but really it's exactly the same. It's 50-50. I mean, some cards in here, I mean, there are a couple of normal monsters in here. A lot of his cards he's used. Some are high defensive. So then they may have been mostly based on the show, but not entirely. I think Merrick, which I'll probably be reviewing, that'll be the next one I review, kind of sort of goes more toward on his heritage, as well as what he used in Battle City, either as one of the puppets he was controlling, like Strings or Arcana. Actually, he wasn't really controlling Arcana, he was fine. It was Bandit Keith he was controlling during the very kind of sort of pre-Battle City, but it was during when they used the new intro, so it's technically part of the Battle City tournament, even if it's not a direct link. But yeah, that's my review on these Structure Deck Joey Volumes 1 and 2 from Japan. Thanks